What if the most powerful habit a senior living alone could adopt has nothing to do with exercise, vitamins, or doctor's appointments? Imagine something so simple, so overlooked, that it almost sounds silly, until you realize it could actually protect your brain from decline, lift your mood, and even help you live longer. It's not a product, it's not a routine you need to schedule, and no one's advertising it on TV. Most doctors won't even bring it up. But for thousands of older adults, it's quietly changing everything, right from inside their own homes. If you're over 60 or love someone who is, take a moment right now to hit the like button and subscribe. Every week on Better Aging Advice, we explore smart, simple ways to live better, not just longer. And what you'll discover today might be one of the most surprisingly effective daily shifts you can make, starting today. Let me introduce you to someone truly unforgettable, Tilda. She's 76, lives alone in a small greenhouse tucked behind a sleepy road in Vermont. No family nearby, no loud routines, but she stumbled on a daily practice, completely by accident, that has quietly transformed how she feels, thinks, and even connects with her past. It's not meditation. It's not journaling. And the moment you hear it, you might laugh until you try it. Because the truth is, what Tilda discovered could be the single most overlooked secret to feeling alive again. Tilda Munsley had once filled rooms with sound. As a music teacher for nearly 4 decades, her life was rhythm, harmony, and the warm hum of young voices learning to sing. But now, at 76, things were different. Widowed for 8 years, she lived alone in a quiet, mossy corner of Vermont, a place that seemed to grow quieter with every passing season. Her home was neat, filled with memories, photographs of smiling students, a dusty upright piano, a shelf of old tea tins she still opened just for the smell. But despite all that, her days had fallen into a kind of silence that didn't feel peaceful. It felt invisible. Each morning followed the same quiet script. She'd wake up just after sunrise, still half listening for a voice that wasn't there. She'd shuffle to the kitchen, make a soft-boiled egg and a single slice of toast, then sit by the window with her cup of English breakfast tea. Outside, the world moved on. Mail trucks passing, dogs barking in the distance. But inside, time stretched thin. She might watch television for a while, flipping through old reruns she'd seen a dozen times. Sometimes she'd knit for a bit, though even that felt more like passing time than enjoying it. She had no one to talk to, no one to interrupt her, no appointments, no unexpected visitors, no questions asked. And what's worse, it wasn't dramatic. There were no tears, no dark days, just silence. Long, steady, unchanging silence. Tilda didn't think of herself as lonely, not at first. She had food. She had books. She had her memories. But slowly, something inside her began to dull. Not depression exactly, just a kind of flatness. Like a song without melody. Her thoughts grew foggier. Words sometimes got stuck on the tip of her tongue. Days blended into each other, and even sleep lost its rhythm. What once felt like freedom, retirement, solitude, rest, had started to feel more like drifting. She never told anyone. Who would she tell? But inside, she felt herself shrinking. And the strangest part? No one warned her this could happen. Doctors talked about blood pressure and bone density, but no one ever mentioned the slow erosion of self that can happen in the absence of everyday conversation, of being heard, of simply being needed. Have you ever known someone like Tilda? Or maybe you've felt this yourself. Days that feel too quiet, thoughts that echo with no place to land. If that resonates, even just a little, tell us in the comments. You're not alone. And as you'll see, neither was Tilda, not for long. Most people think of loneliness as just a feeling, something that tugs at your heart when you're missing someone or sitting alone too long. But for older adults like Tilda, loneliness becomes something far more dangerous. It doesn't just sit in your chest. It begins to seep into your body, your brain, and your very biology. Researchers have found that seniors who live alone and experience regular social and sensory isolation face over a 50% higher risk of developing dementia. That's not a small number. That's a coin toss. And it doesn't stop there. Isolation increases the body's level of chronic inflammation, the kind that slowly wears down your heart, weakens your immune system, and makes your joints ache more than usual. Loneliness, real, deep, persistent loneliness, can even increase the risk of heart disease, stroke, and premature death. And here's something most people don't realize. The silence itself becomes a stressor. Not having conversations, not hearing your name spoken, not laughing or responding to simple questions. It's like a slow erosion of your nervous system. Scientists now understand that social engagement is just as vital to your body as physical activity or good nutrition. Without it, your brain's energy dims. You move less. You care less. Your posture begins to stoop, your muscles start to atrophy, and that spark that once made you you begins to fade. Imagine your brain as a garden. When you're younger, it's blooming, full of color, well-tended, nourished by social connection and stimulation. But isolation? That's like cutting off the sunlight and forgetting to water it. Slowly, the flowers wilt, the soil dries, and the weeds of anxiety, apathy, and forgetfulness begin to grow. Not overnight, but gradually, almost invisibly. You might not even notice it at first. A few forgotten words, a nap that turns into a whole afternoon, a reluctance to pick up the phone or leave the house. But your body is noticing. Your brain is keeping score. And here's what makes it even harder. No one talks about it. Doctors don't ask about your silence. Family assumes you're just fine because you say you are. And society praises independence without recognizing that too much independence can quietly turn into disconnection. Have you ever noticed how silence can sometimes feel heavier than noise? Like it presses on your chest a little? Or makes the day feel longer than it really is? If you felt that, you're not alone, and it might be more serious than you thought. But here's the good news. Tilda found a way out, and it started with something so ordinary, it almost didn't seem worth mentioning. But it changed everything, and it might do the same for you. Tilda never meant to discover anything. It started as a small accident, one of those odd, passing moments that you don't think twice about. She was baking her favorite lemon bread one chilly afternoon, the kitchen filled with the scent of vanilla and citrus. And for whatever reason, maybe out of habit, she began reading the recipe out loud. 3 eggs. Sift the flour. Fold gently. Her voice echoed softly in the stillness. She didn't stop. As she mixed the batter, she continued to narrate her steps, like she was hosting a cooking show. "Now don't rush this part," she said, smiling to no one. It felt strange at first, but strangely comforting. The next day, folding laundry, she did it again. 1 shirt, 2 socks. Where did that old sweater come from? As the days passed, she found herself talking more, not to anyone in particular, but to the space around her. She told stories about her teaching days. She recalled conversations with her late husband. She laughed out loud at a silly memory of a student who once called the trumpet a tooting stick. It felt like she was inviting herself back into life. And something unexpected happened. After a few weeks, her mind felt less foggy. Her mood lifted, not in dramatic bursts, but in quiet little glows. She began sleeping better. Her memory improved. Even her speech changed, stronger, more expressive, like her voice had been in hibernation and was finally stretching again. She didn't feel so invisible anymore. You might be thinking, how can simply talking to yourself make such a difference? But here's the science behind it. Speaking out loud activates the brain's language and emotional centers, specifically Broca's area and Wernicke's area, along with parts of the hippocampus and frontal lobe. These are the same regions that light up during real conversations. When you talk, even to yourself, your brain treats it like a social experience. It fires neurons responsible for memory, attention, and emotional regulation. It's not just idle chatter, it's cognitive stimulation. It's also a form of grounding. By narrating what you're doing, "Now I'm buttoning my coat. I think I'll have tea before I go outside." You keep your mind rooted in the present. For seniors living alone, where hours can pass in a blur, this practice builds a rhythm, a connection, a sense of self and motion. And it's not about pretending someone's there. It's about reclaiming your voice, literally and figuratively. Tilda's daily talkouts became her anchor, a habit that helped restore not just her mood, but her sharpness and sense of purpose. But she didn't stop there. What she did next, something so small yet so clever, was what truly shocked even her doctor. It took this daily habit from helpful to transformational. Tilda had already noticed her days feeling a little brighter. Her voice was returning, her thoughts less cloudy. But one morning, while sipping chamomile tea and looking through an old photo album, she had an idea. a twist on her new habit that seemed silly at first until it wasn't. She picked up her phone, pressed the voice recorder, and said, softly, "Good morning, 1967 Tilda. You just had your first student recital. Remember how nervous you were? You wore that green blouse with the pearly buttons and hoped no one would notice your hands shaking." She smiled as the memory warmed her chest. Then she added, "But you did it. The kids played beautifully. And you didn't cry until after everyone left." That was the first message. She didn't listen to it again, just saved it. The next day, she made another. "Hello, 1983 Tilda. You just buried your mother. You thought you had to be strong for everyone else. But inside, you were unraveling." And so it continued. Day by day, she recorded tiny voice letters, not to anyone else, but to herself. The younger versions of her who had lived through things no one else remembered. She told her past self she was proud. She forgave her. She celebrated her. And in doing so, Tilda began healing in a way she never expected. The changes were gentle but profound. She started sleeping more soundly, as if some old tension had finally let go. Her memory, especially long-term, felt sharper. She could recall specific dates, smells, and conversations with remarkable clarity. Even more surprising, her speech in everyday conversations became more colorful. When she spoke with neighbors or her sister over the phone, she noticed herself using more vivid language, telling richer stories, laughing more. Her voice was no longer something to be tucked away and quiet. It was vibrant, lively, alive, and science supports this. Studies show that reflective reminiscing, especially when done out loud, activates parts of the brain associated with autobiographical memory, emotional regulation, and self-identity. When you pair this with verbal expression, it becomes a therapeutic process. It's like mental exercise and emotional nourishment rolled into one, but it also boosts confidence. Seniors who reflect on their own stories with compassion report greater self-esteem, reduced depressive symptoms, and a stronger sense of continuity between who they were and who they are now. For Tilda, these voice letters became a sacred ritual, a 10-minute act of connection to her own history, her own courage, her own worth. And she didn't need fancy equipment, a therapist, or a group, just her voice and her memories. Would you ever try sending a voice message to your past self? What would you say? Would you offer encouragement, forgiveness, maybe just a reminder that you made it through? That's what Tilda discovered, that even when you live alone, your story still matters. And sometimes, the most powerful person you can talk to is the one who's already walked your path. So now you're probably wondering, how can I actually start doing this in my own life without it feeling awkward or forced? Here's the good news. You don't need to be a great speaker, tech-savvy, or even confident. This habit is simple, and it grows naturally with just a few minutes a day. And when done consistently, it can light up your mind like few other things can. Let's walk through it step by step. Step 1. Start simple. Tomorrow morning, when you're brushing your teeth or making your coffee, just speak out loud. Describe what you're doing as you're doing it. Opening the cabinet, grabbing the mug. "I think I'll have the cinnamon tea today." You're not trying to be poetic or perform. Just engage your voice and bring your brain into the moment. Think of it as narrating your life back to yourself. Step 2. Choose a theme. After a few days, you can go deeper. Pick a small theme for the day, a memory of a birthday, your first car, your favorite meal growing up. You don't need a script. Just talk the way you tell a story to an old friend. "Back in 1959, I wore my best dress to the diner on Main Street. The jukebox was playing Elvis, and I thought for sure he was singing right to me." This is where the magic starts. The details you forgot start coming back. Your mind becomes a theater, and your voice becomes the guide. Step 3. Record your voice. Use your phone's voice memo app or any simple recorder you're comfortable with. Don't worry about making it perfect. These aren't meant for YouTube, they're for you. Start with 1 or 2 minutes. You might say, "Hi, Monday me. Today was a little slow, but I made soup and watched the birds." Or, "Hello, young me. I know you're worried about your future, but let me tell you, you turn out just fine." Step 4. Set a time. The habit sticks better when it's tied to something you already do. For example, after breakfast, right before your afternoon walk, while you're folding laundry. The key is consistency, not duration. Just 5 to 10 minutes daily is enough to build new mental pathways and emotional resilience. Step 5. Optional share it. If you feel comfortable, consider joining a local or national senior phone circle or audio club. These are groups where older adults share short voice messages or stories via phone lines or apps. It creates a beautiful sense of community, even if you never meet in person. And your story, your voice, might just brighten someone else's day. Now, a quick reminder. This habit isn't silly, strange, or childish. It's one of the most overlooked tools for keeping your brain, memory, and spirit vibrant. Your voice carries decades of stories, survival, love, laughter, and wisdom. Don't let it go silent. Try it tomorrow morning, just 5 minutes. Narrate your day, tell a small story, or whisper a message to yourself. Then come back here and tell us how it felt. Did something shift? Did a memory surprise you? Because sometimes the smallest habits, done daily, become the most powerful rituals of all. Months passed, and Tilda wasn't the same woman who once sat quietly in her living room, the silence pressing heavily around her. Now, there was a sparkle in her eyes, a warmth that came from deep within. Her voice, once timid and soft, had grown stronger, richer, filled with the stories of a life well lived. She laughed more freely, spoke with confidence, and even shared jokes with neighbors who stopped by. But the most remarkable change wasn't just how she sounded. It was what she'd built from that simple habit of speaking aloud. Tilda started a weekly gathering at the local library, something she called the Memory Voice Circle. Every Tuesday afternoon, a small group of seniors would come together, some shy and quiet at first, others already eager to share, but all drawn by the power of voice and story. In this circle, they spoke out loud, telling memories, narrating moments, sending voice messages to their younger selves, just like Tilda had done. Some shared childhood tales, others recounted war stories or family celebrations. Each voice brought life and connection back into a community that, for many, had felt lonely and isolated. One afternoon, a visitor asked Tilda what this ritual meant to her. She smiled and said, "When I hear my own voice, I feel like I matter again." It was a simple sentence, but packed with years of rediscovery and healing. It wasn't just about the sound or the words. It was about reclaiming a part of herself she thought was lost in the quiet. Tilda's transformation is a powerful reminder. Change doesn't always require grand gestures, expensive treatments, or drastic moves. Sometimes, the most profound shifts come from reconnecting with the smallest parts of ourselves, our own voices, our memories, our stories. For seniors living alone, feeling unheard or invisible can become a heavy burden. But Tilda's story shows that by simply speaking aloud, by honoring your inner voice, you can revive your spirit and rebuild a sense of purpose and connection. So, if you're watching this and thinking, could this work for me? Remember Tilda, she didn't need a miracle, she needed a voice. And that voice is waiting inside you, too. Have you ever felt invisible or unheard? What would it mean to you to hear your own voice again, loud and clear? Share your thoughts below, we're listening. If you're living alone, it's easy to overlook the little things that keep us connected to ourselves and the world around us. But here's the truth. Speaking aloud, even if it feels strange at first, is one of those small but powerful habits that can quietly transform your days. It's not just about talking. It's about waking up your brain, lifting your spirits, and inviting joy back into moments that might otherwise feel heavy or empty. Think of your voice as more than just sound. It's the soundtrack of your life, the laughter, the memories, the hopes, and the lessons. When you let it fill the room, you're reminding yourself that your story matters. Every word you say is a thread weaving you back into the vibrant tapestry of living, connecting you with your past, your present, and those around you. So don't underestimate this habit. It might seem simple, but it's a tool that protects your brain health, helps fight loneliness, and even sparks new energy in your daily routine. It's like giving yourself a daily dose of mental sunshine, brightening your mood and sharpening your memory. If this message resonates with you, take a moment to hit that like button. Share it with someone you care about, maybe a neighbor, a friend, or a family member who lives alone and could benefit from this little-known secret. And if you've ever felt the quiet weight of solitude, please remember, you are not alone. We see you, we hear you, and this community is here for you. Subscribe to Better Aging Advice for more uplifting tips, stories, and practical habits designed just for seniors who want to live stronger, longer, and better. Your voice matters, your story matters, and together, we can keep them alive, loud, and clear.